Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
The Fever have made another hire for their coaching staff. Welcome back, Briann January, assistant coach. Why welcome back? We will get to that in a second. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. I cannot remember the last time I had a cold, and I can tell you this, it is horrible, but we're working through it. So why is this a welcome back? Because Briann January had a decorated career as a player for the Indiana Fever, including a ring as part of the 2012, I almost said 14 for some reason, Indiana Fever championship team. So that is, she's got a great pedigree as a player. She was part of the coaching staff with Stephanie White in Connecticut. Now, I'm going to keep this one positive. I'm not even going to say, I've got question marks about bringing so many from a staff that does not have a title. But no, I'm not going to say that because what she has going for her, I think, is actually very, very important. And that is a knowledge of defense. Yes, defense. Okay. And as we know, despite Christy Sides being a so-called defensive specialist, the Indiana Fever struggled defensively a lot, and it was not all on the players. They didn't seem to know when to switch, when to go under screens, over screens, and on and on. Rotations, the whole thing, the whole 9 yards, as they say. She had a struggle with that, but as you can see here, known for her cerebral style of play, lockdown defense, and expert passing as a player, Briann January now provides all of those attributes and knowledge as a coach. While coaching and playing are two different things, but having that knowledge and being able to convey it, there's the key. And if she can do that, she absolutely does have a fantastic pedigree as a player that she can bring to the Indiana Fever that they were missing last year. As you can see, WNBA champ in 2012, WNBA All-Star in 2014, and then there's the really important one for the Fever, seven-time WNBA All-Defensive Team. That's right, returning to a Fever franchise where she helped lead the team to that 2012, that lone WNBA championship that they have in Indy. She is currently 2 all-time for the franchise in games played and assists. She's going to help Caitlin Clark move her down that list. That's not a knock at all. I'm just saying, I think we know where that is headed for a lot of players. She was the number 6 pick back in 2009. She played 14 seasons, by the way, in the WNBA, 9 of them with Indiana. To this day, she's top 10 in many of the all-time records for the Indiana Fever. As I just mentioned, number 2 overall in games played. That number is 250. Assist 909. As we know, Caitlin Clark is already more than a third of the way to that in one season alone. She is third on the list in steals with 285. She is a career free throw percentage shooter of 84.7%, which is also so 4th in total points, 2,244. Again, Caitlin Clark is already about a third of the way to that. Field goals made was 721, where she's 4, and 3-pointers made 242. Caitlin Clark is already about halfway to that number as well. And if we went and took a look at her stats, as you can see over the right, what stands out: all defensive team, all defensive team, all defensive team, all-star, defensive team, and third in defensive player of the year, defensive team, defensive team. Then even later on in his career, when she played for Connecticut in 20 and 20 and 21, all defensive team in 21 and defensive player of the year, she ranked 6th at the time for that as well. So this is on paper, and I'm not saying that to be mean. It's not a negative. I'm just saying it. We'll see how it works out. Now, I will say, the one thing I will say though is, besides coming from the Sun, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, first she joined the coaching staff at ASU, which is where she played. She was an assistant for 2017-2018 season. She was with Stephanie White and the Connecticut Sun in 23 and 24. And even more recently, she was an assistant coach actually with the Motor City Cruise, which is in the NBA G League. She's been the assistant coach for them in the 24-25 season. So she does have a bit of it. She has a, for as little experience as she has of coaching, and again, that's not a negative. I'm just saying she does have a variety of experiences in college, in the WNBA, in the NBA G League, with the men as well. So that bodes well. And of course, the big thing, I think, just individually, I don't know, there's a difference between playing defense as an individual and team concepts that you're drawing up, but her ability to teach, if she can teach players defense and the concepts that she used as a player, that will absolutely be huge, especially for players individually. And then Stephanie White and the entire staff can get into the concepts of rotations and all that and put it all together. But if you elevate all your players individually, granted they have to play as a group, but if you elevate them all individually, that goes a long way for the team defensively. So if they can all pick up, we've added players that are known a little more for their defense than what we've had. So I think just the players that have been brought in, the roster itself is much more defense oriented than it was last year. I think you have a lot of players who want to win a chip and are willing to do what it takes. And so when you get a defense like that, here's the other thing I'll say, that you already know that the Indiana Fever, barring some weird design that they run an offense that holds back these players, that holds back Caitlin Clark, this should be a team that is just can outscore anyone. If you add to that mix of being able to outscore anyone, you add some defense to that, some defensive toughness, the team that is able to make stops when it's needed at the end of the games in tight situations, whether the other team is making a run or what have you. That is absolutely huge, because that was one of their biggest flaws last year, that even when they were playing well, and we saw it again in the playoffs, when even when they're playing well offensively, and then of course, hey, sometimes offenses go cold. When they needed to make stops, they needed that big stop. They just didn't seem to be able to get it done, at least not consistently, here and there. But in close games where they absolutely needed a big stop, they were not able to make it often enough for them to continue on. So if they can do that, if Briann January can bring that to the team and elevate their play individually, and they have team concepts that worked a little better than last season, this will be absolutely huge for the Indiana Fever. Some of the things I'd like to see from Caitlin Clark this year, I talked about just a couple of things. I don't look the way she plays offensively, and I know some people say this is an excuse, and I get it. She's not necessarily going to give you that intensity defensively because of how much she expends on the offensive end. And you don't need her to. You really just need her to be average. I think she already is average. So even a little better, I guess. Let me put it another way. You're not going to ask her to lock down the other team's perimeter scorer, because you don't want her to expend that energy, right? You're going to put someone like Sophie Cunningham on her, or Lexi Hull on a player like that, and not Caitlin Clark. But one, Caitlin Clark's stance and the way she moves, that needs to be fixed. One huge thing for that is strength, to be able to be into that in that defensive stance longer. So that's going to help. We all know Caitlin got stronger. Cheryl Swoops told us so. So that's huge. And then one of the things I've really noticed with Caitlin sometimes off the ball, I don't know if it's a lack of, where she loses concentration at times, or what it is, but she has times where her player will go away from the play, and Caitlin will turn and follow them, and now has zero idea of where the ball is, as opposed to getting in a good defensive stance and being able to see her player and the ball and sliding over in that direction. She'll turn and actually face them and move toward them. And then she has no idea where the ball is behind her. So she has no idea when and if she needs to help out the team defensively. But those are my little criticisms of Caitlin Clark's defense, that I think Briann, from her pedigree, from her career, can probably get those things fixed, elevate the entire team. And watch out. I mean, if the Fever can play defense as well as the offense that they can put out there, that's going to be a problem for the rest of the league. But let me know your thoughts on this edition in the comments below. I do appreciate all your support. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're ticking over slowly. We hit 11.5. Thank you all very, very much. We're ticking over. 12,000's next. I mean, I know 11.6 is next, but come on, let's pick up the pace. The season's coming next month. I will talk to you later.